The Bentley was unlocked. I'd checked every car on the block. BMWs, Mercedes, even a Porsche that looked like it cost more than I'd make in a lifetime. All locked. All alarmed. All belonging to people who'd never spent a night wondering where they'd sleep, but the black Bentley at the end of the street? Unlocked. No alarm. Like someone had left it open just for me. I knew it was stupid. Knew that breaking into a car, any car but especially one this expensive, was the kind of decision that ended badly. But it was January in New York, the temperature had dropped to 15 degrees, and the shelter I'd been staying at had kicked me out 3 days ago for defending myself against a man who couldn't keep his hands to himself. Survival doesn't leave room for good decisions. I slipped into the back seat, pulling the door closed as quietly as I could. The interior was warm, residual heat from whenever the owner had last driven it, and smelled like leather and something expensive. Cologne, maybe. The kind that came in bottles that cost more than my last month's rent. And why last month's rent? What a joke. I hadn't paid rent in 6 weeks. Hadn't had a home in 3. Hadn't had anything resembling a normal life since the clinic closed and Dr. Martinez moved to Florida with no forwarding address and no final paycheck. I curled up on the back seat, pulling my threadbare coat tight around my shoulders. The leather was soft, softer than anything I'd slept on in weeks. Softer than the shelter cots. Softer than the park benches. Softer than the subway seats where I'd learned to sleep with one eye open just for tonight, I told myself. I'll be gone before dawn. No one will ever know that I was wrong. I woke to sunlight streaming through the windows and a face staring at me through the glass. A man's face. Sharp features. Dark blue eyes that looked almost black in the morning light. An expression of mild curiosity, like finding a stray cat in your car was a minor inconvenience rather than a shock. He tapped on the window. I scrambled upright, heart pounding, reaching for the door handle on the opposite side. But before I could escape, I heard the locks engage with a decisive click. The man opened the driver's door and slid into the front seat with an ease that suggested this car belonged to him. Course it did. Course the one unlocked vehicle in all of Manhattan belonged to someone who looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine for people who murdered other people professionally. "Good morning," he said. His voice was deep, with just a trace of an accent I couldn't place. Irish, maybe. "Sleep well. I'm sorry. I'll leave. I didn't take anything. I know you didn't. I have cameras." He adjusted the rearview mirror, and I realized he was looking at me through it. "You've been in my car for approximately 7 hours. During that time you slept, you didn't touch anything, and you cried twice in your sleep." I felt my face burn. "You watched me?" "I was notified when someone entered my vehicle. I chose to observe rather than intervene." He turned in his seat to face me properly. "You looked like you needed the rest. So you just let me sleep? In your car. It was that or call the police. And I'm not particularly fond of involving law enforcement in my affairs." His lips curved slightly. "Besides, you weren't hurting anything. Just borrowing warmth. I'll go now." I reached for the door handle again. Still locked. "Can you unlock the door?" "In a moment. First, I have a question." "What?" "Rent's due." He said it casually, like we were discussing the weather. "You've used my property for 7 hours. How do you intend to pay?" Panic shot through me. I'd heard stories, women who got into cars with the wrong men who never got out again. Was this how it ended? In a Bentley that smelled like expensive cologne and leather? "I don't have any money. I don't have anything. I can see that." His eyes swept over me, not lasciviously but assessingly, taking in my ratty coat, my unwashed hair, the dark circles under my eyes. "When did you last eat?" "What?" "Food. Sustenance. The thing that keeps you alive." His voice sharpened. "When?" "Yesterday. Maybe the day before." I'd lost track. The days blurred together when you were focused on survival. He was quiet for a moment. Then he reached into the glove compartment, pulled out a protein bar, and handed it to me. "Eat." I don't need your charity. It's not charity. It's an investment. He watched me with those dark blue eyes. Eat the bar. Then we'll talk about rent. I wanted to refuse. Wanted to maintain some shred of dignity. But my body had other ideas. My stomach cramped at the sight of food, and my hands were already reaching for the wrapper before my pride could stop them. I ate the entire bar in 30 seconds. Better, he asked. What do you want from me? I want to offer you a job. I laughed, a harsh, broken sound. A job? Sure. What kind of job does a man in a Bentley offer a homeless woman he found sleeping in his back seat? The kind that involves my dog. He pulled out his phone, showing me a picture of an enormous Irish wolfhound with gray fur and soulful eyes. This is Murphy. He's 8 years old, arthritic, and in need of someone who knows how to care for aging animals. You want me to walk your dog? I want you to be his companion. Live in my home, ensure he receives his medications, keep him comfortable during his final years. He tucked the phone away. In exchange, you get room and board, a salary, and a chance to rebuild whatever life you lost. Why me? You don't know anything about me. I know you chose my car over a dozen others. I know you didn't steal anything despite obvious desperation. And I know, he paused, studying my face. Dr. Martinez's clinic. You worked there, didn't you? I recognize you from the photographs. My blood ran cold. How do you know about the clinic? 'Cause I own the building it was in. Among other buildings in this neighborhood. He smiled slightly. I also know Dr. Martinez left without paying his last 3 months of rent or giving any of his employees their final paychecks. That was my oversight. I should have vetted him better. You're the landlord? Among other things, he extended his hand. Kieran O'Sullivan. And you're Ren Gallagher, former veterinary technician, currently homeless, and in desperate need of a job that doesn't involve sleeping in strangers' cars. I stared at his hand, at the tattoos peeking out from under his sleeve, at the expensive watch that probably cost more than everything I'd ever owned combined. You've been following me? I've been aware of you. There's a difference. He didn't lower his hand. Take the job, Ren. It's cold outside, and Murphy needs someone who'll actually care about him instead of just collecting a paycheck. What if I say no? Then I unlock the door, you walk away, and we both pretend this never happened. His eyes held mine. But I don't think you're going to say no. Because you're smart, you're desperate, and you know this is the best offer you're going to get. He was right. I hated that he was right. 1 week, I said. A trial period. If it doesn't work out, you leave with a week's pay and a reference. He smiled. Do we have a deal? I looked at his hand. At the future it represented. Uncertain, possibly dangerous, but warmer than any park bench. Deal. His grip was firm. Warm. Surprisingly gentle. Welcome to the O'Sullivan household, Ren Gallagher. His smile widened. Try not to steal anything. The townhouse was not what I expected. I'd imagined something cold and modern, all glass and steel, the kind of place that screamed money without soul. Instead, Kieran's home was a brownstone in Hell's Kitchen, 3 stories of warm brick and original details, looking like it had stood there for 100 years. It belonged to my great-grandmother, he explained, leading me up the steps. She bought it when she first came from Ireland. It's been in the family ever since. You live here alone? With Murphy. And the occasional guest. He unlocked the door. Finn, my cousin, stays in the basement apartment when he's in town. My sister Siobhan has a room on the 3rd floor, but she mostly uses her own place. The interior was as surprising as the exterior. Exposed brick walls covered with photographs and artwork. A comfortable furniture that looked actually used rather than decoratively arranged. Books everywhere, stacked on tables, filling shelves, piled beside armchairs, and Murphy, rising from his bed by the fireplace to investigate the newcomer. "Hey, boy." I crouched down, letting him sniff my hand. He was huge, even for a wolfhound, with the graying muzzle and careful movements of an elderly dog. But his eyes were bright, and his tail wagged slowly as he accepted my presence. "He likes you," Kieran observed. "That's rare. Murphy doesn't trust easily." "Neither do I." I scratched behind Murphy's ears, feeling some of the tension drain from my shoulders. "He's beautiful. How long has he had the arthritis?" 3 years. "It's progressive but manageable with the right care." Kieran crouched beside me. "His medications are in the kitchen. He needs them twice a day with food. And he needs walks, short ones, nothing strenuous. The vet can give you more details." "You have a regular vet?" "Dr. Chen on 10th Avenue. She's good. Knows Murphy's history." He stood, offering me a hand up. "I'll show you to your room." The room was on the second floor, a guest bedroom with a real bed, clean sheets, and a window overlooking a small garden. After 3 weeks of shelters and streets, it looked like paradise. "The bathroom is through there. Kitchen's downstairs, help yourself to anything. The laundry in the basement." Kieran paused in the doorway. "There are clothes in the closet. Siobhan keeps extras here. You're about her size. Use whatever you need." "Why are you doing this?" "Doing what?" "Being generous. Offering me a job or room clothes." I turned to face him. "You don't know me. I could be anyone. You could be." He leaned against the doorframe. "But you're not anyone. You're someone who lost everything through no fault of your own and is too proud to ask for help. I recognize that. Because you've been there. 'Cause I've seen it before. In people who deserve better than what life gave them." His expression softened almost imperceptibly. "Take a shower. Get some sleep. We'll discuss the details tomorrow." He left, closing the door behind him. I stood in the middle of my new room, surrounded by more comfort than I'd known in weeks, and tried to figure out what I'd gotten myself into. A job caring for a dog. A room in a stranger's house. A man who looked at me like he was solving a puzzle that I should have felt wrong. Suspicious. Too good to be true. Instead, it felt like the first safe thing that had happened to me in a very long time. I slept for 14 hours. When I finally woke, it was dark outside and someone had left a tray of food outside my door. Soup, bread, fruit. Simple things, but warm and real and exactly what my body needed. I ate everything. Then I showered, actually showered, with hot water and soap that smelled like lavender. Put on clean clothes from the closet. Jeans that fit, a sweater that was soft and warm. When I finally went downstairs, Kieran was in the living room, Murphy at his feet, reading by firelight. "Feeling better?" "Much. Thank you for the food." Siobhan stopped by. "She wanted to make sure you had everything you needed." He set down his book. "She also wanted to vet you, but I told her that was premature." "Vet me?" "My sister is protective. She doesn't trust easily, especially not women who appear in my car uninvited." "I didn't appear. I broke in." "Semantics." He smiled slightly. "Sit. We should talk about the actual job." I sat in the chair across from him, feeling Murphy shift to rest his head against my knee. The old dog had apparently decided I was acceptable company. "The basics are simple," Kieran began. "Murphy needs consistent care, medications, walks, companionship. He doesn't like being alone, and my work keeps me away more than I'd like." "What work?" "Various things. Import and export. Property management. Community relations." His voice was carefully neutral. "Nothing that concerns you. Except that I'm living in your house. Except that." He met my eyes. "I won't lie to you, Ren. My family has been in this neighborhood for generations. We've built certain relationships. Some legal. Some less so. You're telling me you're a criminal?" I'm telling you that the lines between legal and illegal are more complicated than most people realize. He didn't flinch. I'm also telling you that whatever I do outside this house has nothing to do with you. Your job is Murphy. That's all. And if I see something I shouldn't, then you forget you saw it. Same as you'd forget in any other job. He leaned forward. I'm not asking you to participate in anything. I'm asking you to care for my dog and accept payment for it. Can you do that? I thought about the shelter, the streets, the endless cold that seeped into your bones until you couldn't remember what warmth felt like. Yes, I said. I can do that. Good. He stood, stretching. I'll be leaving early tomorrow. There's money in the kitchen drawer for groceries. Murphy's vet appointment is Thursday, and Finn will stop by to check on you. I don't need checking on. Consider it checking on Murphy, then. He paused at the stairs. And Ren? Yes. Welcome home. The words hit me harder than they should have. Home. When had I last had one of those? Thank you, I managed. He nodded once and disappeared upstairs. I sat by the fire, Murphy's head warm against my knee, and let myself feel something I hadn't felt in weeks: hope. The first week was a lesson in adjustment. Murphy and I developed a routine: morning medications with his breakfast, a slow walk around the block, afternoon naps by the fire, evening medications with dinner. He was a gentle giant, patient with my fumbling as I learned his preferences and quirks. He liked his belly rubbed counterclockwise. He hated the sound of the garbage truck. He would only drink water from his ceramic bowl, never the metal one. And every evening at 7, he'd stand by the front door waiting for Kieran to come home. He's been doing that since he was a puppy, Finn explained during one of his check-ins. He was nothing like I'd expected, red-haired and freckled, with an easy smile that seemed at odds with his occupation. Even when Kieran's gone for days, Murphy waits. That's loyal. That's love. Finn scratched Murphy's ears. Dogs don't understand schedules or obligations. They just know who their person is. And Kieran is Murphy's person. Has been since the day he brought him home. Found him abandoned in a parking lot, just a few weeks old, half-starved, covered in fleas. Finn's expression softened. Most people would have called animal control. Kieran carried him home in his jacket and didn't leave his side for a week. I looked at Murphy, this massive, dignified creature, and tried to imagine him as a helpless puppy. Tried to imagine Kieran, the intimidating man who'd found me in his car, nursing him back to health. He's not what I expected, I admitted. Kieran? No one expects him. That's part of his charm. Finn grinned. And part of his strategy. People underestimate him constantly. He uses that. Uses it how? That's not my story to tell. Finn stood, stretching. But I will say this: whatever you think you know about my cousin, you're probably wrong. He's more complicated than he seems. Most people are. True. But Kieran more than most. He headed for the door. You're good with Murphy. He's happier than I've seen him in months. He's easy to love. So is Kieran. Once you get past the walls. Finn paused, looking back at me. Give it time. He's worth knowing. Siobhan's assessment was less charitable. She appeared on day 5, unannounced, letting herself in with her own key. I was in the kitchen preparing Murphy's dinner when I heard the front door open. Hello? Just me. A woman appeared in the doorway, tall, dark-haired, with the same sharp features as Kieran but harder, colder. Siobhan O'Sullivan. My brother's been telling me about you. Good things, I hope. He's been telling me you're competent with Murphy. He hasn't mentioned anything else. She moved into the kitchen, examining me with undisguised scrutiny. You're younger than I expected. Is that a problem? It's an observation. She leaned against the counter. I've done my research, Ren Gallagher. Grew up in the system. Aged out at 18. Worked your way through veterinary tech school. Lost your job when your employer skipped town. You've been thorough. I'm always thorough, especially when it comes to people who suddenly appear in my brother's life. Her eyes narrowed. What's your angle? My angle. What do you want from him? Money? Protection? A way into the organization? I want a job and a place to sleep. That's all. Everyone wants something more than they admit. Then I'm the exception. I met her gaze without flinching. Your brother offered me work. I accepted. I'm not here to cause trouble or take advantage of anyone. And if I don't believe you, then you don't believe me. That's your right. I returned to Murphy's food, measuring out his medications. But I'm not going anywhere unless Kieran asks me to leave. And so far, he seems satisfied with my work. Siobhan was quiet for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, she laughed. You've got backbone. I'll give you that. She pushed off from the counter. Most people cower when I interrogate them. You just kept making dog food. Murphy needs to eat on schedule. Your skepticism can wait. God, you're actually serious about this. She shook her head. Fine. You've passed the first test. There are more tests. There are always more tests. But she was almost smiling now. Welcome to the family, Wren Gallagher. Try not to break my brother's heart. She left before I could ask what that meant. Kieran returned that evening looking exhausted. I heard him come in. Murphy's excited whine, the thump of his tail against the floor, the low murmur of Kieran's voice as he greeted his dog. By the time I came downstairs, they were settled in the living room, Murphy's head in Kieran's lap, both of them looking more peaceful than I'd seen either. Siobhan stopped by, I said. I heard. She texted me her assessment. He looked up at me. She thinks you're either genuinely harmless or the best con artist she's ever met. Which do you think? I think you're someone who's had a hard life and deserves a break. His hand moved steadily over Murphy's fur. I also think you're too proud to take anything you haven't earned. That's rare. Pride is all I have left. Pride and talent. Murphy adores you. He's been happier this week than he's been in months. He gestured to the chair across from him. Sit. Tell me how things are going. I sat, tucking my legs beneath me. Everything's fine. Murphy's medications are working well. His appetite is good. The vet appointment went smoothly, Dr. Chin says his blood work is stable. Good. That's good. He was quiet for a moment. And you? How are you settling in? Better than I expected. Strange having a routine again. Having a place to come back to. Strange good or strange bad. Strange unfamiliar. I searched for the right words. I've been surviving for so long I forgot what it felt like to just live. To wake up without wondering where I'll sleep tonight. To eat without wondering when I'll eat again. That's not something anyone should have to experience. Lots of people experience it. I'm not special. You're here. That makes you special enough. His eyes met mine. I know this situation is unusual. A stranger offering you a job, a home, asking nothing in return except care for his dog. It must seem suspicious. It does. But I promise you, Wren, there's no hidden agenda. No trap waiting to spring. I saw someone who needed help, and I was in a position to provide it. That's all. Why? Why do you care what happens to someone you don't know? He was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was different, softer, more vulnerable. 'Cause I know what it's like to have nothing. To be alone. To wonder if anyone in the world gives a damn whether you live or die. His hand stilled on Murphy's fur. My family has money now. Power. But it wasn't always that way. My great-grandmother came here with nothing, less than nothing. She built everything from scratch, and she did it because people helped her when she needed it. So this is paying it forward. This is remembering where I came from and trying to be the person someone was for her. He met my eyes. I don't expect you to trust me. Not yet. But I hope you'll give me the chance to earn it. I studied him, this complicated man who'd offered me shelter without demanding anything in return, who spoke about his family with pride and his privilege with awareness, who looked at his dog with the kind of love most people reserved for children. You're nothing like I expected, I said. Neither are you. He smiled. I expected someone broken. Instead, I found someone who just needed solid ground to stand on. I'm still finding my footing. Take your time. The ground isn't going anywhere. He stood, Murphy groaning at the loss of his lap. I have some calls to make. Help yourself to dinner. There's leftover pasta in the fridge. Kieran. He paused at the door. Thank you. For all of this. I don't know how to repay you. You're taking care of Murphy. That's payment enough. He smiled. Get some rest, Ren. Tomorrow's another day. The week slid by faster than I expected. I fell into the rhythm of the household. Murphy's needs, Kieran's unpredictable schedule, Finn's cheerful visits, Siobhan's gradually warming surveillance. The brownstone became familiar, then comfortable, then something dangerously close to home. You're different, Kieran observed one evening, finding me in the library with Murphy at my feet and a book in my hands. Different how? More relaxed. Less like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. He sat in the armchair across from me. It suits you. Stability suits everyone. Most people just take it for granted. Most people have never lost it. He stretched out his legs. What are you reading? Found it on your shelf. Angela's Ashes. Seemed appropriate given. I gestured vaguely at our surroundings. Given my aggressively Irish household? He laughed. That book is depressing as hell. It's honest. There's a difference. True. He studied me. You like honesty. I've had enough lies to last a lifetime. Mostly my own. What do you mean? The lies you tell yourself when things fall apart. That it's temporary. That it'll get better. That you're not really as desperate as you feel. I closed the book. Honesty is harder, but it's cleaner. You know where you stand. And where do you stand now? In a beautiful house with a wonderful dog, working for a man who might be a criminal but treats me better than most legal employers ever did. I met his eyes. I stand somewhere I never expected to be. Is that good or bad? I'm still deciding. But I was smiling. Ask me again in a month. I'll hold you to that. He stood. Dinner? Are you cooking? God, no. I'm ordering. There's a Thai place that delivers. He paused. Join me? I should stay with Murphy. Murphy can handle an hour without you. He's asleep. Kieran extended his hand. Come on. We've been living in the same house for 3 weeks and I barely know anything about you beyond your work history. There's not much to know. I doubt that. His hand was still extended. One dinner. No agenda. Just conversation. I looked at his hand. At the invitation it represented. At the line it would cross if I accepted. One dinner, I agreed. His smile was worth the risk. One dinner became 2. Then 3. Then a standing arrangement. Whenever Kieran was home, we ate together. We talked about everything and nothing. His childhood in Hell's Kitchen, running wild with Finn and Siobhan while their parents built the business. My years in foster care, the families that didn't work out, the social workers who tried and failed to find me somewhere permanent. You never got adopted, he said one night, his voice careful. I was too old by the time I entered the system. People want babies, toddlers. Not 8-year-olds with attitude problems. Their loss. Their choice. I survived. That's what matters. Survival isn't the same as living. No, But it's a prerequisite. I sipped my wine. You can't live if you don't survive first. Everything else comes after. And now? Now that survival isn't the immediate concern. Now I'm learning what comes next. I looked at him across the table. You're part of that, whether you intended to be or not. I'm part of a lot of things I didn't intend. His eyes held mine. You're one of the better surprises. I'm a homeless woman you found sleeping in your car. You're a capable, intelligent, stubborn person who happened to be in a difficult situation. The car was incidental. He leaned forward. What I've found since is someone worth knowing, worth keeping around. Careful. That almost sounds like affection. Maybe it is. He didn't look away. Would that be a problem? My heart stuttered. Kieran, you don't have to answer. I know this is complicated. I'm your employer, your landlord, possibly a criminal depending on who you ask. There are 1,000 reasons why this is a bad idea. Then why bring it up? Because pretending I don't feel something would be dishonest. And you said you value honesty. He reached across the table, his fingers brushing mine. I'm not asking for anything. I'm just being honest. I looked at his hand on mine, at the warmth spreading through my chest, at the future branching before me, safe and complicated and terrifying in equal measure. I don't know how to do this, I admitted. I've never been in a position where someone wanted me for anything other than what I could provide. Then let me show you. He squeezed my fingers. No expectations. No demands. Just time. To figure out what this could be. And if it turns out to be nothing, then it was still worth exploring. He smiled. But I don't think it's nothing, Ren. I think it's something. I've thought so since the moment I found you in my car. You have a strange definition of romance. I have a realistic definition of connection. He stood, moving around the table to crouch beside my chair. Let me be honest about one more thing. What? I'm going to kiss you. If you don't want that, say the word and I'll back off. But if you do, I answer by closing the distance myself. The kiss was soft. Careful. The kiss of two people who'd learned to guard themselves, tentatively lowering their defenses. When we parted, Kieran was smiling. That's a yes, then? That's a maybe. But I was smiling, too. Ask me again tomorrow. I'll hold you to that. The weeks that followed were the happiest I could remember. Kieran and I moved carefully around each other, not avoiding but exploring, learning the boundaries of whatever was growing between us. A touch here, kiss there. Evenings spent talking until the fire burned low and Murphy snored at our feet. Tell me about your family, I asked one night. The real story, not the sanitized version. The real story is complicated. He stared into the flames. My great-grandmother came from Cork during the famine, built the family business from nothing, started as a seamstress, ended as a landlord. My grandfather expanded into other areas meaning crime, other areas meaning whatever paid the bills and kept the neighborhood safe. He glanced at me. You have to understand, back then the police didn't protect people like us. Irish, poor, Catholic. We had to protect ourselves. And now we're still protecting ourselves. Just with better resources. He shifted closer. The O'Sullivan organization provides for this neighborhood. Jobs, security, loans when the banks won't lend. We're not saints, but we're not monsters either. What about the illegal parts? Some gambling. Some protection. Nothing that hurts innocent people. His jaw tightened. I won't pretend we're legitimate, but I won't apologize for what we are either. I'm not asking you to apologize. Then what are you asking? I'm asking you to be honest with me. Always. I met his eyes. I can handle complicated. I can't handle lies. Then you'll have honesty. He took my hand. Whatever happens, whatever you learn about me, I'll never lie to you. That's a promise. I'll hold you to that. Please do. The threat emerged in late February. I was walking Murphy through the neighborhood, our usual route, past the bodega and the dry cleaner and the little park where he liked to watch the pigeons, when I noticed someone following us. A man. Average height, brown hair, forgettable face. He'd been behind us for 3 blocks, maintaining the same distance no matter how fast or slow I walked. My survival instincts, dormant for weeks, snapped back to life. I changed direction, doubling back toward the townhouse. The man followed. I ducked into the bodega, pretending to browse while watching through the window. He waited across the street. Mrs. Gallagher. The bodega owner, Mr. Kim, looked concerned. Everything okay? Fine. Just thought I forgot something. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands. Can I use your back exit? Of course. Through the stockroom. I texted Kieran as I moved. Someone following me. Coming home through back streets, his response was immediate. Stay inside. Finn's coming. Finn found me 10 minutes later, breathless from running. You okay? I'm fine. Just scared. Murphy pressed against my leg, sensing my distress. There was a man, we know. Kieran's handling it. Finn's expression was grim. Let's get you home. Kieran was waiting when we arrived, his face a mask of controlled fury. Did he touch you? No. He just followed. Did you recognize him? I've never seen him before. I sank onto the couch, exhaustion hitting me suddenly. Who was he? Kieran didn't answer immediately. He crouched before me, his hands finding my face. Ren, I need to ask you something. And I need you to be completely honest. Okay. Before you were homeless, before the clinic closed, did anything happen? Anyone who might have a reason to follow you? I started to say no, but something stopped me. A memory, half buried, rising to the surface. There was a man. The clinic. A few months before it closed. What man? He brought in a dog, a pit bull badly injured. Dr. Martinez refused to treat it. Said we didn't do that kind of work. I remembered the man's face, the cold fury in his eyes. The man was angry. Threatened us. Said we'd regret it. Did you report him? To who? The police don't care about threats. And Martinez just wanted to forget it happened. Kieran's expression darkened. What did this man look like? I don't remember clearly. It was months ago. I tried to focus. Average height. Brown hair. Nothing distinctive. Like the man who followed you today. The realization hit me like ice water. You think it's the same person? I think someone's been watching you for longer than we realized. Kieran stood, pacing. The question is why. And what they want. I don't have anything. I'm nobody. You're not nobody. You're someone who witnessed something, saw a face, heard a conversation. That's enough for some people. He turned to Finn. I want surveillance on the neighborhood. Anyone matching that description gets flagged. On it. And Ren doesn't leave the house without protection. Not until we know what we're dealing with. Kieran, I can't just. You can and you will. His voice was firm but not harsh. Someone is targeting you. Till we know why, you stay safe. That's not negotiable. I wanted to argue. Wanted to assert my independence, refused to be locked away like a princess in a tower, but I'd spent 3 weeks on the streets. I knew what happened to women who ignored danger. "'Kay," I said quietly. "But I want to know what you find out. No keeping me in the dark. You'll know everything. I promised you honesty." He sat beside me, pulling me close. "I won't let anyone hurt you, Ren. Whatever this is, we'll figure it out together." The investigation took 3 days. Kieran's people were thorough. They tracked the man who'd followed me, identified him, dug into his background. What they found was worse than I'd imagined. His name is Vincent Doyle, Kieran reported. He works for the Marchetti family. Who are the Marchettis? Competition. They handle the drug trade on the east side. His jaw tightened. The dog you saw at the clinic, it belonged to Doyle. A fighting dog. Martinez was probably right to refuse treatment. Those animals are evidence of criminal activity. But why would Doyle come after me? That was months ago. 'Cause the Marchettis are having problems. Several of their operations have been disrupted lately, and they're looking for someone to blame. Kieran's voice was careful. They think someone's been feeding information to the police. And they think that someone might be connected to Martinez's clinic. That's insane. I never talked to the police about anything. It doesn't matter. They've decided you're a loose end. Someone who might know something might have seen something. He took my hands. They want to tie up that loose end. You mean they want to kill me? I won't let that happen. How? How can you stop them? By making it clear that you're under O'Sullivan protection. That touching you means war. His eyes held mine. The Marchettis are dangerous, but they're not stupid. They won't risk open conflict over one woman. Unless they think I'm worth the risk. They won't. I'll make sure of it. The meeting with the Marchettis happened 2 days later. I wasn't present. Kieran wouldn't allow it, but Finn gave me a full report afterward. It was tense, he admitted. Old man Marchetti wasn't happy about being summoned. But Kieran made his position clear. What position? That you're family now. Under his protection. That any move against you would be treated as a move against the O'Sullivans. And they accepted that. They didn't have much choice. We're stronger than they are right now, and they know it. Finn smiled slightly. Kieran can be very persuasive when he wants to be. I've noticed. I bet you have. His smile widened. For what it's worth, I've never seen him like this. So protective. So invested. Like what? Like someone who's found something worth fighting for. Finn shrugged. We're Irish. We don't do anything halfway, including love. Who said anything about love? No one had to. He stood, heading for the door. Get some rest. The danger's past, at least for now. You're safe. Safe. The word felt foreign in my mouth. Foreign but welcome. That night, Kieran came to my room. He'd never done that before. Always maintained the boundary of separate spaces, respecting my need for independence. But something had shifted after the Marchetti threat. Something neither of us could ignore. Can I come in? Yes. He sat on the edge of the bed, looking exhausted but relieved. It's done. The Marchettis have agreed to leave you alone. What did you have to give them? Nothing I'll miss. He met my eyes. A small territory concession. Some business I didn't want anyway. You gave up business for me? I gave up a headache for you. The territory was more trouble than it was worth. He smiled slightly. Don't look so guilty. It was an easy trade. It doesn't feel easy. Then let me make it easier. He took my hand. I would have given up more. A lot more. Whatever it took to keep you safe. Why? You know why. I want to hear you say it. He was quiet for a moment. Then he lifted my hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to my palm. 'Cause I love you, Ren Gallagher. Against all reason and common sense and everything I thought I knew about myself. His eyes held mine. Because you walked into my life, literally walked into my car and made me realize I was missing something I didn't know I needed. Kieran, you don't have to say it back. I know this is fast. I know you have every reason not to trust what you're feeling. That's not... I stopped, trying to find words for the emotions swelling in my chest. I've never had anyone fight for me before. Never had anyone look at me and see something worth protecting. Then everyone who came before was blind. Maybe. Or maybe I just wasn't ready to be seen. I touched his face. I love you too. I didn't expect to. Didn't plan to. But here we are. His smile was like sunrise. Here we are, he agreed. He kissed me, deeper this time, less careful. I responded with everything I'd been holding back, months of loneliness and fear dissolving into the warmth of his arms. Stay, I whispered. Are you sure? I'm sure. I pulled him closer. Stay. He stayed. The next morning, I woke to Murphy's wet nose against my hand and Kieran's arm around my waist. He wants his breakfast, Kieran mumbled into my hair. And he's judging us. Dogs don't judge. Murphy does. He's very morally conservative. He kissed my shoulder. I'll feed him. You sleep. No. I sat up, stretching. I want to do it. It's my job. It's your job to care for him. It's not your job to never take a morning off. I like taking care of him. It makes me feel useful. You're more than useful. He sat up beside me. You're essential. To Murphy. To me. Kissed me softly. To this family. Family. The word wrapped around me like a blanket. I've never had a family, I said quietly. You do now. He pulled me close. If you want it. I want it. The admission came easier than I expected. I want all of it. Then it's yours. He smiled. Welcome to the O'Sullivans, Wren Gallagher. Try not to break anything. Murphy barked impatiently, ruining the moment. We both laughed, and for the first time in my life, I understood what home actually meant. Spring arrived with cautious optimism. The Marchetti threat had faded into the background, and life in the brownstones settled into something approaching normal. I woke every morning to Murphy's gentle nudge, spent my days caring for him and managing the household, and fell asleep every night in Kieran's arms. It should have felt too good to be true. Maybe it was. You're different, Siobhan observed during one of her increasingly frequent visits. We'd moved past suspicion into something resembling friendship, or at least mutual respect. More confident. I have something to be confident about now. You always had something. You just didn't know it. She sipped her tea. My brother is annoyingly happy these days. I assume you're responsible. We're responsible for each other. God, you're actually in love. Both of you. She shook her head. I didn't think Kieran had it in him. He's always been so controlled. He still is. Just controlled in different ways. That's diplomatic. She smiled. You're good for him, Wren. Better than I expected. High praise from someone who thought I was running a con. I thought you might be running a con. There's a difference. She stood, stretching. For what it's worth, I'm glad I was wrong. Me too. Murphy's decline began in April. It wasn't sudden, more like a slow dimming, a gradual retreat from the dog he'd been. He ate less, walked slower, spent more time sleeping, less time following me from room to room. It's the arthritis, Dr. Chen explained during our weekly visit. His joints are deteriorating faster than we'd hoped. We can increase his pain medication, but it's palliative. I'd known this was coming. Had been preparing for it since my first day. But knowing didn't make it easier. How long? Months, maybe. Weeks if he declines rapidly. She touched my arm gently. You've given him excellent care. He's comfortable because of you. He's my friend. I know. That's what makes this hard. She handed me a new prescription. Call me if anything changes. Day or night. I walked home through the spring sunshine, tears streaming down my face. Kieran found me in the garden that evening, sitting on the bench with Murphy's head in my lap. "Dr. Chen called me." He sat beside us. "I'm sorry. He's been dying since the day I met him. I always knew this was coming. Knowing doesn't make it easier." "No, it doesn't." I stroked Murphy's graying fur. "He's the first friend I made here. The first one who accepted me without question. He's a good judge of character. He's a dog. He loves anyone who feeds him." "That's not true and you know it." Kieran's hand covered mine. "Murphy chose you. Just like I did. And now I have to watch him die. We have to watch him die. Together." He pulled me close. "You're not alone in this, Ren. Whatever comes, you face it with me." I leaned into him, letting his warmth anchor me. "I'm not good at losing people. No one is. I mean, I'm really not good at it." I shut down. "Pull away." I looked up at him. "Don't let me do that. Even if I try to push you away, don't let me." "I won't." He kissed my forehead. "I promise." The weeks that followed were a study in letting go. Murphy's good days became fewer, his bad days more frequent. He stopped wanting walks, stopped climbing stairs, stopped doing anything except lying by the fire with his head on my feet. "He's comfortable," I told myself. "He's not in pain." But I could see the life draining from his eyes, the resignation replacing the spark that had made him Murphy. "You're grieving already," Kieran observed one night. "Before he's gone. Is that wrong?" "It's human." He pulled me into his lap. "Tell me what you need." "I don't know. I've never been allowed to grieve before. Every loss I've experienced, I had to just keep moving. Survive. There wasn't time for feelings. There's time now. That's what scares me." I pressed my face against his chest. "I don't know how to feel things without falling apart." "Then fall apart. I'll catch you. What if the pieces don't go back together? Then we'll build something new from what's left." His arms tightened around me. "I'm not going anywhere, Ren. No matter how broken you think you are." That's a big promise. I'm good at keeping promises. I wanted to believe him. Wanted to trust that this, the safety, the love, the family, would survive whatever came next. But I'd learned not to trust good things. They always ended. Murphy died on a Tuesday morning in May. He went peacefully, fell asleep in his bed by the fire, and simply didn't wake up. I found him when I came down to make breakfast, already knowing before I touched him that he was gone. "Good boy," I whispered, tears falling freely. "You were such a good boy." Kieran was there within minutes, alerted by some instinct I didn't understand. He held me while I cried, didn't try to minimize or comfort, just let me feel the full weight of the loss. "He loved you," he said finally. "You gave him his best months. His happiest ending. It doesn't feel like enough. It never does." Kissed my hair. But it was. It was more than enough. The funeral was small but meaningful. We buried Murphy in the garden, beneath the oak tree where he'd liked to nap on summer afternoons. Finn and Siobhan came. So did Mr. Kim from the bodega, who'd always saved bones for Murphy. And Dr. Chen, who'd cared for him for years. "He was a good dog," Declan O'Sullivan said. Kieran's father had emerged from semi-retirement for the occasion, a silver-haired version of his son with the same sharp eyes and quiet authority. Had the soul of a wolfhound. Loyal to the end. "He was the best," I managed. "Second best." Declan smiled slightly. "You've been good for this family, Ren Gallagher. My son most of all. Murphy saw that first. I just took care of him. You did more than that. You brought life back to this house." He patted my shoulder awkwardly. "Don't be a stranger when the grief passes. You're family now." Family. The word still felt foreign, but less impossible than it had before. The weeks after Murphy's death were hard. I moved through them in a daze, going through motions without feeling them. Kieran was patient, gave me space when I needed it, held me when I couldn't bear to be alone. But some part of me had retreated, built walls I couldn't seem to tear down. "You're pulling away," he said one night. "Like you said you would." "I'm trying not to." "I know. That's what scares me." He sat beside me on the bed. "Talk to me. Tell me what's happening in your head. I keep waiting for the next loss. For you to realize I'm not worth the trouble. For something else to be taken away. Nothing's being taken. Something always is. That's how my life works. That's how your life worked." Past tense. He turned my face toward his. "Your life is different now. You have people who love you who aren't going anywhere. You can't promise that. I can promise to try. Every day. For as long as you'll let me." His eyes held mine. "Isn't that worth something?" I wanted to say yes. Wanted to believe him. But the walls were too high, the fear too deep. "I need time," I said finally. "Take what you need. I'll be here." The breakthrough came unexpectedly. I was cleaning out Murphy's things, his bed, his toys, the ceramic water bowl he'd loved, when I found something tucked beneath his blanket. A photograph, worn and faded, of a younger Kieran holding a tiny gray puppy. On the back, in Kieran's handwriting, "Murphy, Day 1. The start of something good." I stared at it for a long time. Then I went to find Kieran. He was in his study, reviewing papers I didn't ask about. He looked up when I entered, surprise flickering across his face. "I found this." I held out the photograph. He took it, his expression softening. "I forgot I'd put that there. Years ago when he was still a puppy. The start of something good." That's what he was. What he represented. He set down the photo. "I found him the same week my father was diagnosed with cancer. Everything was falling apart. And then this tiny, helpless creature appeared, and suddenly I had something to focus on. Something to save." "Did your father?" "He recovered. Against all odds. The doctors called it a miracle." Kieran smiled slightly. "I always thought Murphy was part of that miracle. A reminder that good things could happen even in the worst times." "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because it sounded ridiculous. Superstitious. Assigning meaning to coincidence." He met my eyes. "But standing here now, looking at you, I think maybe it wasn't coincidence at all." "What do you mean?" "Murphy brought you to me. In a way, he did exactly what he'd always done, showed me something good when I needed it most." He stood, crossing to me. "You're not a replacement for him. You're not a distraction from grief. You're proof that his gift kept working, even at the end." His gift? Finding the good. Recognizing what matters. Cupped my face. "I love you, Ren. Not because you cared for Murphy, but because of who you are. Please don't pull away from that." The walls I'd built began to crack. "I'm scared," I admitted. "I know. I don't know how to stop being scared." "Neither do I. But we can be scared together." He kissed my forehead. "Stay with me. Not because you have nowhere else to go, but because this is where you want to be." I looked at him, this man who'd offered me shelter when I had nothing, love when I least expected it, family when I'd given up hope of ever having one. "It's where I want to be," I said. "It's always been where I want to be." His smile was like coming home. "Then stay." "I'm staying." The walls came down. And for the first time since Murphy died, I felt something other than grief. I felt hope. The summer brought change. Without Murphy to care for, I found myself adrift, still living in the brownstone, still sharing Kieran's bed, but lacking the purpose that had defined my days for months. You're restless, Kieran observed one morning, watching me pace the kitchen. I don't know what to do with myself. Murphy was my job. Now that he's gone, now you need a new job. He set down his coffee. I've been thinking about that, actually. You have. The organization has needs. People we help who have animals they can't afford to care for. Trays that need placement. Situations that require someone with your skills. You want me to work for the family? I want to create a position for you. Something legitimate, a rescue organization connected to our community outreach programs. He watched my face. You'd have autonomy, resources, the chance to do what you're good at on a larger scale. That sounds too good to be true. It's practical. We already fund various community initiatives. This would be another one with you in charge. He stood, moving closer. Unless you'd rather do something else? No, I tried to process what he was offering. You'd really do that? Create an entire organization just to give me something to do? I'd do considerably more than that for you. He kissed my forehead. But this isn't charity. It's investment. You have skills this community needs. I'm just providing the infrastructure. When did you become so generous? When I fell in love with someone who deserved it. The Hell's Kitchen Animal Rescue launched in August. IT was small at first. Just me, a rented storefront, and a network of foster families willing to take in strays. But word spread quickly. People in the neighborhood knew the O'Sullivan name, trusted it. If Kieran's girl was running an animal rescue, it must be legitimate. You've got 3 more intakes, Finn reported, helping me unload supplies. A litter of kittens from Mrs. Donnelly's building, a pit bull mix someone abandoned in the park, and a senior beagle whose owner passed away. We're going to need more foster families. Already working on it. Siobhan's putting the word out through her networks. He grinned. You've created a monster, you know. Everyone wants to help. It's not me. It's the animals. It's both. He set down the last box. You've given people something to rally around. A cause that makes sense. He looked at me seriously. This neighborhood has seen a lot of darkness. You're giving them light. That's dramatic. It's true. He shrugged. Accept the compliment. You've earned it. The rescue grew faster than I'd imagined. By October, we'd placed over 50 animals in permanent homes, established a low-cost veterinary clinic with Dr. Chen's help, and started an education program for local schools. The storefront that had seemed too large was now bursting at the seams. We need to expand, I told Kieran over dinner. More space. More staff. More resources. Draw up a proposal. I'll make it happen. Just like that. Just like that. He smiled. You've proven the concept. Now we scale it. You make it sound simple. It is simple. You do good work. Good work deserves support. He reached across the table. I'm proud of you, Ren. What you've built in a few months is remarkable. I had help. Everyone has help. The difference is what you do with it. His thumb traced circles on my palm. You've turned help into something meaningful. That's rare. I looked at our joined hands, his scarred and calloused, mine smaller but no longer trembling with fear. We come so far from that frozen morning in his car. I love you, I said. I know. His smile widened. I love you too. The proposal came in November, not the business kind. Kieran had approved the expansion weeks ago. This was different. We were in the garden, standing beneath the oak tree where Murphy was buried. The first frost had come, silvering the grass, turning our breath to mist. I have something to ask you, Kieran said. If it's about the new shelter location, I've already narrowed it down to 3 options. It's not about the shelter. He reached into his pocket. It's about us. He pulled out a ring, not flashy or ostentatious, a simple emerald surrounded by small diamonds set in rose gold. The kind of ring someone chose with care, not just money. "This was my grandmother's," he said. "She wore it for 60 years. Told me to give it to someone who'd wear it for 60 more. Kieran, you walked into my life through a car window. You stayed because of a dog. You became family because of who you are, not what you could give me." He went down on one knee. "I want to make that official. I want to build a life with you, legally, publicly, permanently. You're serious. I've never been more serious about anything." His eyes held mine. "Marry me, Ren. Be my wife. Let me spend the rest of my life proving you made the right choice." I looked at him, kneeling in the frost, holding his grandmother's ring, offering me everything I'd never dared to want. "Yes," I whispered. "Yes. Yes, I'll marry you." I pulled him to his feet. "Yes, I'll be your wife. Yes to all of it." He slid the ring onto my finger, and it fit perfectly, like it had been waiting for me all along. "Welcome to the family," he said, pulling me close. "Officially. I thought I was already family." "You were. Now you're more." He kissed me, deep and certain and full of promise. "Now you're everything." The wedding was held in December. We kept it small, just family and close friends gathered in the brownstone that had become my home. Siobhan served as my maid of honor, Finn as best man. Declan walked me down the makeshift aisle, his grip steady despite the emotion in his eyes. "My son chose well," he murmured as we approached the altar. "Better than I dared hope. He didn't choose me. Murphy did." Murphy was wise. Always was. Kissed my cheek. "Welcome to the O'Sullivans, daughter. Make us proud." The ceremony was simple. Vows we'd written ourselves, promises that came from months of learning to trust each other. "I came to you with nothing," I said. "No home, no family, no reason to hope for anything better. You gave me all three. You gave me Murphy. You gave me purpose. You gave me love when I'd forgotten what it felt like to be loved." Kieran's eyes were bright. "You came to me through a car window, and I've never been more grateful for an unlocked door. You showed me that strength doesn't have to mean hardness. That protecting someone can also mean letting them protect you. I promise to keep building," I continued. "Keep growing. Keep choosing you every day, even when it's hard. I promise to keep catching you," he responded. "Keep fighting for you. Keep being the home you never had." We exchanged rings, his grandmother's on my finger, a new band on his. And when the officiant pronounced us married, the cheer that went up from our small gathering felt like the whole world celebrating. "Mrs. O'Sullivan," Kieran murmured against my lips. "Mr. O'Sullivan has a nice ring to it." "It does." I smiled. "It really does." The reception lasted until midnight. People danced, drank, told stories I was only beginning to understand. The O'Sullivan history was vast and complicated, full of triumphs and tragedies, heroes and villains, moments of darkness and unexpected light. "You're part of that history now," Siobhan said, finding me by the fireplace. "For better or worse. Mostly better, I hope." "With Kieran? Definitely better." She squeezed my hand. "I was wrong about you. I thought you were trouble. Turns out you were exactly what this family needed." "What did they need?" "Someone who came from nothing and built something anyway. Someone who understood what it meant to fight for survival." She smiled. "Someone who reminded us why we do what we do. I'm just a veterinary technician who got lucky. You're a survivor who found her people." She raised her glass. "To the newest O'Sullivan. May she be as formidable as the rest of us." "To family," I responded. "To family." Later that night, after the guests had gone and the brownstone was quiet, Kieran and I stood in the garden. The oak tree loomed above us, Murphy's grave marked by a simple stone beneath it. The frost had returned, but I barely felt the cold, not with Kieran's arms around me, his warmth surrounding me like a shield. Do you think he knows? I asked. Murphy? That we got married? I think he's wherever good dogs go, bragging to all the other dogs about how he found you. Kieran kissed my hair. He'd be proud. I miss him. I know. I do too. He pulled me closer. But he gave us to each other. That's a pretty good legacy. The best. We stood in silence for a moment, watching our breath mist in the cold air. What happens now? I asked. Now we live. Build the rescue. Grow the family. Do all the things people do when they're not just surviving anymore. That sounds normal. Is that bad? No. I smiled. It's perfect. And standing there in the garden of my home, beside the grave of the dog who'd brought us together, I finally understood what I'd been searching for my whole life: not safety, not security, not even love, though I had all of those now that I'd been searching for: belonging, for the certainty that I mattered to someone, that my presence made a difference, that I wasn't just passing through life but actually living it. Kieran had given me that. Murphy had started it. And the family I'd found, Siobhan, Finn, Declan, all of them, had completed it. I love you, I said. I love you too. He turned me to face him. Forever, Ren O'Sullivan. Forever, I agreed, and for the first time in my life, I believed it. 2 years later, the Hell's Kitchen Animal Rescue had grown beyond anything I'd imagined. What started as a single storefront was now a 3-building campus. A shelter, a veterinary clinic, and an education center that served the entire neighborhood. Final numbers are in, Siobhan announced, dropping a folder on my desk. She'd taken over the rescue's financial management 6 months ago, turning her sharp business acumen from family operations to something she actually enjoyed. Last year, we placed 412 animals. That's triple our first year. And the clinic? Over 2,000 appointments. Dr. Chen wants to hire another vet. She smiled. You've built an empire, Ren. We've built an empire. I couldn't have done any of this alone. True. But you're the heart of it. She perched on the edge of my desk. Speaking of hearts, Kieran's been insufferably smug lately. Any idea why? I touched my stomach instinctively, then caught myself. No idea. Liar. Her eyes narrowed. You're pregnant, aren't you? I was going to tell everyone at dinner tonight. I knew it. She jumped up, pulling me into a hug. How far along? 12 weeks. We just passed the safe point to announce. A baby. An actual O'Sullivan baby. She pulled back, her eyes suspiciously bright. Dad's going to lose his mind. He's been dropping hints about grandchildren for years. Kieran already told him. He cried. Declan O'Sullivan cried. The man who didn't cry at his own wife's funeral. Apparently grandchildren hit different. Siobhan laughed, a real laugh, warm and unguarded. In 2 years, she'd gone from suspicious interrogator to something like a sister. The family I'd never had kept growing in ways I couldn't have predicted. I'm happy for you, she said. Both of you. You deserve this. So do you. When are you going to find someone? When I find someone who isn't terrified of me. She grinned. So, probably never. The dinner that night was chaos. Finn had brought champagne, non-alcoholic for me, the good stuff for everyone else. Declan kept tearing up every time he looked at me. Siobhan was already planning the nursery. And Kieran sat beside me, his hand never leaving mine, looking at me like I'd hung the moon. To the newest O'Sullivan, Declan said, raising his glass. May they have their mother's heart and their father's stubbornness. Other way around, Kieran corrected. Ren's more stubborn than I'll ever be. That's true, I admitted. I did break into your car and refused to leave. Best decision you ever made. Best decision you ever made was not calling the police. I never call the police. He kissed my temple. Bad for business. Everyone laughed, and I marveled at how natural this felt. 2 years ago, I'd been sleeping in strangers' cars, wondering if I'd survive the winter. Now I was surrounded by family, carrying a child, running an organization that made a real difference. Life had a strange sense of humor. Have you thought about names? Finn asked. It's early. If it's a boy, Murphy, Kieran said quietly. The table went silent. Murphy? I looked at him. He brought us together. Gave us a reason to find each other. Kieran's eyes held mine. I think he'd like knowing his name lived on. I thought about the gentle giant who'd accepted me without question. Who'd taught me what it meant to be loved unconditionally. Who died in his bed by the fire, surrounded by people who adored him. Murphy, I agreed. If it's a boy. And if it's a girl? Siobhan asked. Rose, I said. After Kieran's grandmother. Declan made a sound that might have been a sob. She would have loved you, he managed. Both of you. I hope so. I squeezed Kieran's hand. I hope she's watching. Wherever she is. She is, Declan said. I'm certain of it. The pregnancy progressed smoothly, but I kept working at the rescue as long as I could. There was too much to do, too many animals to save, too many programs to oversee. But as my belly grew, Kieran became increasingly protective. You need to rest, he insisted one evening, finding me still at my desk at 8 o'clock. I need to finish these adoption applications. They can wait until tomorrow. He pulled me to my feet. You've been here since 7 this morning. The baby needs sleep. The baby is fine. I'm fine. You're exhausted. There's a difference. Cupped my face. Let me take care of you. Please. I wanted to argue. Independence was still my default, even after 2 years of learning to lean on others. But I could see the worry in his eyes, the fear that he might lose something precious through neglect. Okay, I relented. But I'm coming back early tomorrow. Deal. He drove me home, made me dinner, rubbed my swollen feet while I complained about how pregnancy had turned me into a whale. And when we finally went to bed, he held me close, his hand resting on my belly. I can feel him moving, he whispered. Her. I think it's a girl. You do? Mother's intuition. I covered his hand with mine. Though I could be wrong. Either way, they're perfect. He kissed my shoulder. Just like their mother. Their mother is a former homeless person who broke into cars. Their mother is a survivor who built something extraordinary from nothing. He pulled me closer. Don't diminish yourself, Ren. You're remarkable. You're biased. I'm accurate. He was quiet for a moment. Do you ever think about what would have happened if you'd chosen a different car that night? Sometimes. I wonder if I'd have survived the winter. I wonder if I'd have kept living without really being alive. His voice was rough. Before you, I had purpose but no joy. Responsibility but no love. You changed that. Murphy changed that. Murphy started it. You finished it. He turned me to face him. I was dying inside, Ren. Slowly, quietly, without even realizing it. You brought me back to life. We brought each other back. I touched his face. That's what love does. It resurrects people. Then I've been resurrected several times over. Kissed me softly. I love you. More than I have words to express. I love you too. I smiled. Even when you're being overprotective. I'll always be overprotective. Get used to it. I have been. For 2 years. Good. Then another 60 won't be a problem. I laughed, settling against him. No. It won't be a problem at all. Rose Murphy O'Sullivan was born on a June morning. 23 hours of labor, 3 hours of pushing and 1 moment of pure, devastating joy when the doctor placed her in my arms. She was tiny, 7 pounds 4 ounces, with a shock of dark hair and her father's blue eyes. "She's beautiful," Kieran breathed, standing beside me, tears streaming down his face. "She's absolutely beautiful. She looks like you. She looks like both of us." He touched her cheek with one careful finger. "Hello, little one. I'm your father. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life protecting you." Rose yawned, unimpressed by his declaration. I laughed, exhausted, overwhelmed, happier than I'd ever been. "She's already got your attitude. Our attitude. She's an O'Sullivan through and through." The family descended within hours, Declan weeping openly, Siobhan taking approximately 400 photographs, Finn making inappropriate jokes that made the nurses glare. They passed Rose around like a precious treasure, each of them falling in love with her instantly. "She's got the family chin," Declan observed. "Strong. Determined." "She's got her mother's eyes," Siobhan countered. "Sharp. Observant." "She's got my charming personality," Finn added. "Obviously." "She's got hours of sleep deprivation in her future," I said. "For all of us." But I was smiling. Couldn't stop smiling. This tiny creature, this impossible miracle, was mine. Ours. The family I'd never thought I'd have. "Thank you," Kieran whispered when the others had finally left and we were alone with our daughter. "For what?" "For everything. For staying. For building this life with me. For her." He looked at Rose, sleeping peacefully in her bassinet. "I didn't know I could feel this much. Didn't know there was this much feeling in me." "There's more," I promised. "It keeps growing. Trust me. I trust you with everything." He kissed me. "Forever. Forever." 1 year later, I stood in the garden of the brownstone, watching Rose toddle across the grass on unsteady legs. She was walking now, barely, determinately, falling down and getting back up with a stubbornness that was pure O'Sullivan. Murphy's grave was nearby, marked by a stone that read, "Murphy O'Sullivan. Best dog. Best friend. Best beginning." "She's getting faster," Kieran observed, coming to stand beside me. "She's going to be running soon. Then we're really in trouble. We're already in trouble. Have been since the day she was born." He wrapped an arm around me. "The good kind of trouble. The best kind." Rose spotted something in the grass and bent to examine it with intense concentration. A ladybug, probably, or a dandelion. Everything was fascinating at her age. Everything was new. "I have something to show you," Kieran said. "What?" He whistled, a low, distinct sound I'd heard him use with Murphy years ago. A puppy came bounding around the corner of the house. An Irish wolfhound puppy, gray and gangly, with enormous paws and floppy ears and the same soulful expression Murphy had worn. Rose shrieked with delight. "Where did you, how?" I couldn't form a complete sentence. "Murphy's breeder. She had a new litter last spring. I've been waiting for the right moment." Kieran smiled. "His name is Seamus. I thought Rose should grow up with a dog." "You thought—" I was crying now, tears streaming down my face as the puppy bounded toward Rose, tail wagging furiously. "Kieran, every O'Sullivan needs a wolfhound. It's tradition." He pulled me close. "Besides, the rescue should have a mascot. Someone to represent what we do." "You're impossible." "I'm practical. There's a difference." I watched Rose and Seamus discover each other, the baby and the puppy, both uncertain, both delighted, both already falling in love. Just like I had 2 years ago with a different dog and a different life. "Thank you," I whispered. "For what?" "For this. All of this." I gestured at the garden, the house, the family, the life. "For finding me in your car and not calling the police. For giving me Murphy. For building this with me. I didn't build this. We built this." He kissed my forehead. Together. Together, I agreed. Rose giggled as Seamus licked her face. The sound echoed through the garden, bright and joyful and full of promise. I thought about the woman I'd been, homeless, hopeless, sleeping in strangers' cars. I thought about Murphy, who'd shown me what unconditional love looked like. I thought about Kieran, who'd seen something in me worth saving, and I thought about Rose, who would grow up knowing she was loved, who would never wonder where she belonged, who would have a family, a home, a wolfhound, and parents who would move mountains for her. Are you happy? Kieran asked, deliriously. I leaned into him. Completely. Permanently. Good. He smiled. So am I. We stood together, watching our daughter play with her new puppy in the garden where Murphy was buried. Past and the future intertwined. The ending and the beginning inseparable. I'd broken into a car looking for shelter. I'd found a home instead, and that home, this family, this love, this impossible life, was everything I'd never dared to dream of, everything I'd finally learned to believe I deserved. Thank you so much for joining me for this story. If you enjoyed, she broke into his car to sleep. Please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more thrilling stories. Your comments mean the world to me. Let me know what you thought and what kind of stories you'd like to see next. Until next time, keep reading and stay mysterious.